So generally after improvising, then I want to dig right into learning a new concept. Because again, if we're working up Bloom's taxonomy, we go from memorizing, remembering, understanding, then we go to analyzing and applying. So to me, that means sitting down and identifying an area of my playing that I want to work on and learn a new concept. A great example would be new chord shapes and identifying a particular part of the neck where I'm going to go around and I'm going to play a bunch of 2/5s, just like right there. I was doing just some small 2-5-1 motions above the 8th fret. And you might need a supplement for this. A supplement might be your teacher that you're talking to write out some chords, or a book like Chord Chemistry by Ted Green, or another method book that can help you. So oftentimes with learning a new concept, I might be using other materials at that point to be learning a new idea and applying it. This also can mean playing another instrument. So grabbing my classical guitar, playing some solo classical pieces, playing steel string and working on open string riffs. There's many functional techniques on guitar that are specific to certain types of instrument. And that's often the bulk of my practicing, is that learning a new concept. That can take up most of my time because, again, warming up and then playing a blues should be kind of the launch pad for me to dive into more of the analytical. And then after that, up the application of it. So playing through a tune and using some of those 2/5 shapes like what I just played. Lastly, I like winding down the practice session with doing some sight reading, and using a method book like Bill Levitt, Modern Method for Guitar, is excellent for students out there, or Melodic Rhythms for Guitar. There's a whole series of books that he did, which are excellent for guitarists specifically. Curious, Will, what's something that you recently have been using as a source for your sight reading material?
I mean, I have, it's Bach. It's Bach. I also,
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. But I also really enjoy the violin caprices.
Mm-hmm.
However, I bought the arrangement for flute, meaning it's basically just single lines. Because if you buy the Paganini violin caprices, it's really hard, and it's kind of just impossible on the guitar. At least to play it to tempo, but as solo melodies, it's much more doable. And that's what I love to sight read. Can I add one more thing in to what you and Perry were talking, though?
Indeed.
Do you guys ever mess with drop 2/4 chord inversions?
I don't think so.
Boy.
The blank looks on your faces tell me
Let's
no.
see.
Yeah,
Probably not.
So drop 2 would be that, basically 4 consecutive notes.
4 consecutive
Drop 3.
strings, right?
Yes, 4 consecutive strings. Drop 3 usually includes a string skip. So drop 2/4, it actually has 2 string skips in it. So I'm playing G on the E string, D on the A string, B on the G string, F sharp on the B string. You could also do that on the A string. You can only play these rooted on the E string or the A string because they're so spread out. But they kind of give a nice hollow orchestral thing to the guitar. That's something I was just practicing. So
Yeah, and that's again, like, we can actually read some of that stuff. That's really challenging. I mean, sight reading chord shapes, or sitting down and really learning the chord forms and then applying the chord forms. So yeah, that's cool, man. It's a cool process. I mean, there's just so much like this that we can dive into, And I feel like we all go through phases where with our practicing, we focus on one technique for a while, or one set of chord practice for a minute, and then we move on from it after a while too. Where does transcribing fit into your guys' practice routine? Perry, is that something you do separately? Do you try to transcribe every single day when you practice? Just curious, especially that we're all being jazz musicians, transcribing is the primary way that we all learn vocabulary, other people's vocabulary and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, years ago, I was definitely transcribing on a weekly basis, really trying to get into a solo from different people to kind of expand my vocabulary of the foundation of the music. These days, I don't do that nearly as much because, I guess I have a limited amount of time. I mean, I have nothing against transcribing, but I think there's a point at which, as a player, you really want to hone your own skills and focus as much on that as you can. Not taking anything away from transcribing, like it's still very important. Like I said, I have this playlist that I usually refer to that sometimes changes and evolves, and so I will transcribe little things off that. But at this stage, I'm a little bit more focused on how am I playing, how am I trying to establish my own vocabulary.